Okay, folks, welcome to not Market Wrap. I can't believe I just said that. That was from last night. Welcome to Swing Trading today. I'm still on my first cup of coffee. Bear with me. Third sip in, max. Okay, good morning, folks. Welcome to Swing Trading today. This is Bob Desmond, and it is June the 9th, 5:40 in the a.m. Overnight, we had some news out of China, which is pretty important. China launches price controls after red-hot inflation, highest PPI since Lehman collapse. China vows to control corn, wheat, pork prices after PPI surges. Now, I looked for a quote from Milton Friedman as to the wisdom of price controls, because we've tried it here in the United States. Nixon tried it, and wage and price controls, and it didn't work. So here's a paraphrase from Milton Friedman, one of my favorite economists of all time. Economists may not know much, but they do know how to produce a shortage or a surplus. Price ceilings, which prevent prices from exceeding a certain maximum, cause shortages. Price floors, which prohibit prices below a certain minimum, cause surpluses, at least for a time. So all they're going to get vis-a-vis price controls are more shortages of exactly what they're trying to manage. And trust me, given the government that we have here nowadays, and I'm not just talking Democrats, I'm talking Democrats and the vast majority of Republicans, they'll try the same stupid thing here, because just as they're embracing Marxism, which never ever worked in the history of the world, they'll try another failed policy, which is or are wage and price controls at some point in time to manage inflation. So this is coming to our shores at some point in time in the not too distant future. Now, before we get to the pre-market futures, tomorrow, the CPI report, Consumer Price Index. Remember last month, very, very hot, really, really hot. And this is the reason why I'm focusing on the Chinese news this morning. So let's take a moment to go through the pre-market futures. Then I'm going to circle back and go over some chart requests from members. We're going to be going over what do we have this morning? Nvidia, Palantir, Neo, Gush, FTOC. I think I went over that. No, I went over Gush and FTOC the other day. Neo, Palantir, and Nvidia. Let's get to it. All right. So the first thing we want to take a look at is, given the fact that we have the CPI tomorrow coming out, and we have news out of China, did it do anything to our bond market? Are bond prices moving lower, or are they moving higher? And we have an overnight move higher. We remain higher, but we're beginning to stall out here. And I would expect to see, given the news out of China, given the anticipated CPI data, that we should see bond yields move higher. Therefore, bond prices move lower. You're looking at the 10-year Treasury note. We would expect this to drop as traders anticipate a Fed rate hike if we see the CPI data come in hot. If it doesn't come in hot tomorrow, traders will just simply ignore the China news and continue to buy high beta stocks. Let's take a look at the US dollar, which I believe did take the news out of China at heart, because earlier when I first checked this chart, we were trading back down below 90 on the Dixie, which is critical support psychologically, technically, for the US dollar. Now, of late, traders have been playing this game of, and it's what they're trained to do, it's what the algorithms are programmed to do, is when inflation data comes out hot, for whatever reason, they buy the dollar initially, and what do they sell? Gold. Gold is down this morning despite the PPI data coming out of China, and it looks as though the same game is being played, whereas they're ignoring inflation and they're dropping dropping gold and not killing the dollar. They're holding it stable, and they continue to bid up bonds. I think that is going to reverse. If not this week, early next week. Take note of a potential on this 4-hour chart of a lower high. And I think it's the wrong move. I think gold on this news today out of China, if it follows through to our CPI data tomorrow, we broke down below support on a 4-hour time frame. It should be moving up higher. That's not, traders are not trading that way of late. There's a lag. They're trading the opposite direction, selling gold on inflation data, and then the next day they wake up, oh boy, I better buy gold, and dump the dollar. Before we go to equities, let's take a quick peek at how agriculture prices are doing to see whether or not we're getting a spillover effect into the States. We know that pork was hot over in China. It's down slightly this morning. However, we are moving up higher, well off the lows. Let's go to a weekly chart, get a feel for where we're at. Look at this move up higher on a weekly time frame. I mean, pork moving up higher. They cited corn and wheat. Let's take a look at those. Corn down on the week, bearish reversal bar on the week. What are we doing on the session? Lethargic with a bias to the downside, no spillover effect. So what would be good for us today is if they hammered gold. Corn down as well. So they're ignoring the data out of China. That's okay. Bearish reversal bar on the week. So let them sell off commodities because they'll hope, traders will hope, that the same thing over in China, wage and price controls, I should say just price controls, will be brought over here, but with historical failure, just as we've seen time and time again. The only time price controls work are for a very, very brief period of time during emergencies, hurricanes, whatnot, to prevent price gouging. In the long term, though, they fail. Let's go to equities. Let's begin with the Russell 2000, up marginally. Very good price action of late. Questions some may have you covered your short? Nope, not quite yet. Have I added to it? No way. No way, not on a breakout. The NASDAQ 100, up marginally. Again, have I covered my short? Nope. Because the NASDAQ, if you see a surge in yields, you're going to see it come under a lot of pressure. Now, what we're seeing on this chart here is a pretty bullish chart, I have to say it. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder, and You want to argue that this was the neckline? Here now in red? I'm good with that. Next price target, 14,025 on the NASDAQ 100. The S&P 500 up marginally. Again, same deal here. Inverted head and shoulders setup, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Nice W formation. The bias should be to the upside. The one thing I will warn though, but it's not really that much of a concern. We haven't been putting in closing highs. We put in a new high yesterday, but not a closing high. You have your RSI trending down. Is this anything yet? No. If we begin to break out on price and we move up higher on the S&P 500, yet RSI fails to break down or even worse, moves lower, then that's a signal by the market that all is not well. Okay, let's take a look at natural gas. I booked a profit in natural gas yesterday. I'm hoping for it to pull back in this morning. Yeah, good. All right, we're down slightly. We sold pretty much at the highs yesterday, and we were trading Boyle, which is a leveraged ETF. I opened up this position a few weeks ago. I still like it longer term. I love this cup handle formation. We've begun to break out. Excuse me. And I think that we're probably going to move up higher. It just got ahead of itself yesterday. So we booked profits up here. Now it'll do a nice orderly pullback, or it should do a nice orderly pullback. Perhaps fill this gap down here, which we're right next to. And then we will look to reopen that trade. Let's, here's gasoline. Gasoline coming in a little bit. Let's take a look at some chart requests from members. All right, we're going to be using TrendSpider, folks. If you're interested in automated technical analysis, use the link below, giving you a 35% discount code off of TrendSpider. That's the cheapest price on the web. Get automated technical analysis. Watch these lines here in green and red. I'm going to take them off, throw them back on. Now you know exactly where you have support and resistance. So again, use that link below. And what you're looking at here right now is Nugget, which is a leveraged ETF, putting you long of the gold miners, the senior gold miners. And what happened yesterday was, and this is why I didn't buy on the dip yesterday, because that's what we've been doing, is buying the dip. And the difference yesterday was that, unlike in prior times where we bounced off this rising lower band of support in blue, we broke support. So I think that we're probably going to head lower today. I hope we do. And we're looking for a point to add more on the NUGT at around $71 per share. And the same holds true for the GDXJ, where it too, again, the value of the automated trend lines, it too broke support yesterday. Now take note of this line up here in green, in dashed green. What is that? What that is, if you take a look over here, on this daily chart, I've overlaid weekly support and resistance levels. So I'm going to take this off, click this button here, I'm going to throw it back on. There's weekly resistance. So if you were using this as a tool and you were trading this vehicle, you would have known once we hit this upper band of resistance here, if you're a day trader, I guess you could have sold and bought back in down at support and then resold back up here. I'm not a day trader. I'm more of a swing trader and longer term investor in the GDXJ. So I'm using these opportunities to pull back because what we're expecting is a tear up higher in inflation. So we want to be positioned for it. Moving on to Nvidia. This is for fellow member Jim, who also wants PLTR and NEO. I'm liking Nvidia on a daily time frame. Let's come back to this first. Let's get a feel for where we're at on the week. I'm loving the weekly chart here. Loving it. So what we did last week is that we broke out. What we're doing this week is that we've pulled back on a weekly time frame, retesting the breakout point. And these are traders. These are guys like me saying, all right, this was kind of rough to get through this resistance level. Let's retouch this. Let's touch it and see whether or not what was resistance is now support. And it appears to be behaving that way, which is great. Daily chart. Daily chart. We broke out on the 4th. Retest 1, retest 2. We have an alert set here. And it triggered already. I need to take this back off. So what I want to do here is, this could be bought, in my opinion. The only caveat I'm going to add to this bought comment is this. I'm going to bring up the SMH. We're going to come back to Nvidia. SMH, this is the semiconductor index. I want to point out how this chart looks. We flashed an outside reversal bar yesterday on the semiconductor sector. And when you add on the automated trend lines, we broke support and we closed there. So does that mean you can't go buying Nvidia? No, it doesn't mean that. But you do need to keep an eye on the parent index, because if it's weak, at some point in time, the rest of the children, if the parent's weak, the rest of the children are going to get weak as well. Just like when you're on a plane and the stewardess says the parent needs to put the oxygen mask on first and then the child. So the tail is not going to wag the dog. So Nvidia looks good here. Just keep an eye on the SMH, because if it continues to break down, Nvidia may follow through. Right now, though, Nvidia looks okay. And I would just be concerned at this point with reducing the size of my opening position if I intend to get long of Nvidia, despite the fact that the semiconductor sector as a whole is a bit weak. Just stay small. Don't get too aggressive. If the semis recover and Nvidia begins to break out, say above this resistance level here, great, good stuff. Power to the people. Add more. Set our alert. And we'll keep it active for the next 5 days or so. And we're good. Now, what I want to know is also, do we do another retest? And do we fail to hold as well? So I want to know if we break, touch, bounce. That's just a note to myself to keep an eye on the SMH. And we'll keep that active for about 10 days. And we're good here. So in closing on Nvidia, it looks bullish. My main concern is the fact that the semiconductor sector as a whole looks bearish. So again, you could either continue to watch or just stay very small with an opening position, because I do like the chart, and watch yields. If yields spike up higher, that's not going to bode well for the semiconductor sector. Watch the 10-year yield. Moving on to PLTR. All right, let's go to a weekly chart here first. Let's get rid of all these drawings. We've gone over this a number of times in the past. It's time to start fresh here. We've seen lately where we've had a rally in many of these high beta stocks, given the fact that yields have pulled back some on the 10-year, 30-year. The question is how long. I was about to put my support level exactly where I had it the last time. I didn't even see this, at $20.49. So what we want to do now is identify resistance. And we have resistance on PLTR. Let's move this up a little bit. That's nice. 25.59 resistance on PLTR. If we're able to close above 25.59 on PLTR, that would be an interesting area at which to buy. But again, folks, this is another one where your edge is knowing where bonds are and how your underlying equity trades historically. What's the correlation? Will Palantir over the course of the past years or months trade with the rise in the 10-year or against the rise in the 10-year? It's so critical to know that. And we'll keep it active for a couple of weeks. You can see that we're right at resistance. I'm going to set up another alert just in case we sell off. Break, touch, bounce. Keep a little bit of sensitivity. Okay, so we are good to go here. Between either A, a retest of support, or B, a breakout above resistance. This is simply a watch stock. Nothing really to do here, unless, of course, the daily chart could change my opinion some. And it can't. We had a down day yesterday. Volume was light. So this is one where I would simply watch. Use a rules-based approach. Wait for it to come to you. Leaving it off with NEO. NEO has been behaving really well these past few weeks. We're through resistance. What is this, 20 period? Oh, this is the Keltner channel. 20 period moving average. I don't like this volume. Well, it's a weekly chart, so you got to expect that volume for this bar would be light so far. But the volume over the past, excuse me, the volume over the past several weeks has been pretty light relative to the moving average in blue. That's not really that attractive. Do we have resistance here? We hit it yesterday. The high of yesterday was consistent with the highs last seen of March the 22nd, the week of. So we've had 4 strong weeks. At some point in time, you're going to get a retrace. So what's the wise thing to do? I think the wise thing to do is at least set an alert. Watch for a retrace back down to its most recent resistance level, which should now act as support. And we have Neo, weekly retest of support. And you got to be careful with these Chinese stocks, folks. One day, there's going to be a major problem with companies trying to get their money out of that country. Yeah, we hit resistance yesterday. We were rejected. What also could be done here is if you want to use a support level, like right here, because we formed a wedge formation. I prefer this support level where I already set it, but if you want to set it at 41.57, okay, that's fine as well. Can't hurt. And we'll keep this active for 10 days, and we're good to go. And with that, folks, thanks for joining in. I would ask that you please smash that like button. Have a profitable trading day. And I will talk to you all tomorrow night live on YouTube, Thursday Night Stock Charts Live, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please join us. So get alerted by entering the email address in any one of our opt-in email forms below. There's one that says 5-part video tutorial for our top 5 favorite candlestick patterns, or enter it on the email list that says get alerted 15 minutes to a half hour prior to going live. That way you don't miss a minute of it. Or you can just simply hit the bell button. You get notified sometimes, not all the times. It doesn't always work of when we go live. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow night. Till then, be well.